You can go ahead and start the meeting.
Very good. We'll call the meeting to order at 3:03, and say, could we please have a roll call of members present, and then we'll do the pledge.
Sure. Vice Chair Brown is absent. Director Branning.
Here.
Director Josie. Here. And Chair Hubbard.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Let's dispense with the pledge because I'm not there. And say that item 3 is that the meeting is open to the public, a chance for members of the public to make comment on anything within the jurisdiction of this board, on any topic that's not on today's agenda. Do we have any speakers in the room?
So we do not have any speakers in the room today. There's no attendees on Zoom, and I did not receive anything via email.
Very good. We'll close public comment and move to item 4, which is minutes of the November 27th, 2023 meeting. And I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Chair, I will make a motion to approve with the correction that my name be spelled properly at the top of page 2.
I think I could probably support that. Yeah, maybe. Let me think about it. No, okay, very good. Is there a second? Branning seconds. Seeing no public comment on item 4, I'll call the roll call vote, please.
Vice Chair Brown is absent. Director Branning.
Aye.
Director Josie.
Aye.
And Chair Hubbard.
Aye.
Motion
Item 4 passes. Item 5 is the Go Tri-Valley Potential Program Modifications Staff Report.
So that is me. Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Friday. I was telling Chrissy how weird it feels to be here on a Friday evening, but thank you for joining us. So today we'll be discussing some potential changes to the Go Tri-Valley program. So I am going to give some background information and some context, and I'm going to ask Martha Nguyen, our senior operations specialist, to stand up to the podium and actually go over the actual recommendations to you all. Next slide, please. So as you all know, the Go Tri-Valley program is a program where we subsidize all trips taken on Uber and Lyft within the Tri-Valley, half of the fare up to $5 per trip. This program was actually launched in Dublin. It was called the Go Dublin program as part of the comprehensive operational analysis done in 2017. Wheels forward, say.
That's
Right. So essentially what the idea was that there were some underperforming routes in Dublin, that was the Route 3, that were just not productive. And so they would, do away with that route and then replace it with this on-demand type of service. So that was sort of the original vision and intent of the program. In 2020, when COVID came, they then expanded the Go Tri to the entire Tri-Valley and rebranded as Go Tri-Valley program using some air quality district funding. And really in the last bullet as well. So just talking about the original intent and goal of the program, it was to replace low performing routes and really help those in underserved areas of the Tri-Valley get to where they needed to go. So it would act as a first mile, last mile connection options that would supplement our main service and then also provide connections. So that was really the original intent of the program. So early last year, as you all know, we did conduct a pretty successful marketing campaign. And then as a result of this, ridership increased dramatically. And of course, with more ridership, that equates to more operating expenses. And so as you'll see in the next slide, ridership more than doubled in March. So the month right after we started the social media blitz, and it's continued to grow at an exponential rate. And so as you remember, we came to the board back in September for some board action, and that included extending both the Uber and Lyft contracts and then increasing the not to exceed amounts. And those are the amounts, $270,000 for Uber, and $600,000 for Lyft. So I believe I will pass it off to Martha.
Happy Friday, everyone. Please let me know if I need to pump up my volume. So here's where from the start of the Tri-Valley until now. So as you can see, it kind of gradually increased over time, but when the marketing campaign came in early 23, everything just spiked and has kind of stayed consistent until then. I remember some questions before, people are wondering, where are people taking these trips, where are they coming from? This represents a heat map of all the origins and destinations that are being taken with Bow Tie Valley. As you can see, it's all over the service area, but the hot spots are, BART, kind of ACE here, and then the transit center, and then a few shopping areas and residential neighborhoods.
Those are the origins or destinations or both?
Both.
Okay.
If we showed like the actual trips, like from origin to destination, it would be a whole bunch of money that would not look very pretty.
The data set just wasn't really conducive to making that kind of analysis.
So I'll briefly go over the different program alternatives. For alternative one, it's make no changes, obviously that's no impact to the rider, but the physical impact is astronomical. It's not fiscally sustainable considering different food. Alternative two is to just eliminate the program. Obviously, this impacts all current riders and future riders. Physical impact is also astronomical, but at the same time, we eliminate the program. Alternative 3A is to cap the trips at 10 trips per user per platform every month. This impacts only about 20% of riders. The physical impact is around 40%. A decrease in cost. Alternative B is to be a little more strict and cap it at 6 taps per user per platform every month. This impacts about 40% of riders, but the physical impact is much greater, around 52%. For alternative 4, it's to restrict hours when fixed route buses are not running. So maybe that's around 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. This impacts a majority of riders as they usually, most of the trips are taking place during times where buses are also running. The physical impact is pretty high since this is fairly restrictive and would eliminate most of the current rides. And alternative 5 is to restrict the service area to where the current fixture are. This impacts a lot of riders because we do have routes throughout the Tri-Valley. It mirrors a lot of where people are taking Uber or Lyft, like they can easily go to bus stop and still take Uber or Lyft. So that doesn't really.
So just to clarify, this alternative is restricting service to the first and last mile to transit. So there would be a geofence on bus stops or a bus route or an ACE station or a BART station, and you could take the service from anywhere in the Tri-Valley to a bus stop or a train stop, or the opposite, from transit to a different location. So it becomes a true first and last mile service. Does that make sense?
It's hard to predict the physical impact of this. Someone can say, I can go a half block down the street to the bus stop and still take Uber. So it's really hard for us to tell.
This is one that's also more difficult for our partners to implement. That was some feedback that I received.
And for our riders to really grasp and understand.
Would it also be time restricted? So, you know, you can take it from BART at 2 a.m. or can you only take it one BART like this?
I'm not sure. We did not ask that.
And I just think the disadvantage of that is you can kind of couple some of these alternatives together, then you're just adding that complexity from the user perspective. And so that's why we kind of went with alternative 3H, as it gives us a significant cost reduction without really impacting the overall program.
And then another part of that is that until now, we haven't had really very many issues or complaints from riders, but I tried to explain to them that you can only take it along this part of the block and start that. So staff is recommending we go with alternative 3A, which is to cap the trips at 10 trips per user per platform every month. So here's a chart just to show the cost of the program every year until now. So the first year is this bottom line. Second year, it's a little more, and then FY 23 is kind of going along the same trend. And then all of a sudden, there's the marketing campaign and everything blew up. That trend continued into this fiscal year, which we did predict. That's why we amended the budget. And if we don't do anything right now, it will continue to grow. That's our projection for this.
And do you have a projection with 3A?
Yes.
Oh,
So,
That's a great question.
So, yes, it would reduce it by about 38%.
And I just want to add, because I don't think it's in the PowerPoint, and I'm just being rude here, staff did a great job. I want to give kudos to this team, because I was thinking we needed to hire a consultant to help us, but we've got such great staff, they were able to put this together. We did look at the average number of uses per month per platform, just to understand, you know, how are people using it? And I think it was 7 uses per month for one of the platforms. So we felt that there are some super users that really take a lot of trips and they kind of skew the data. So we felt 10 was a reasonable number to land at, given 7.
But even under 3A, they're technically getting 20 trips.
Yeah, right, 20 per.
So we, even with this, it's still pretty good from the rider perspective.
So with that, I'll shoot it back to Mike for next steps.
Next steps, yes. So yes, staff recommends that the Projects and Services Committee approve and forward to the board for consideration changes to the Go Tri-Valley program, namely implementing alternative 3A, which is a monthly trip cap of 10 trips per user for TNC platforms, so both Uber and Lyft. This would go to the board on the February 5th agenda. And then once we get board approval, we would work with Uber and Lyft to implement this trip cap. And again, they just have to turn something on in the back end. And so this would go live right away, but we're thinking we should align it with the new Wheels in Motion service change. So maybe around the end of March, early February. April, there we go. That's it.
Any questions?
Yeah,
We both have questions.
so I have a big question. And then a
Please,
small-
go ahead.
So my big question is, at this point, kind of, what is the purpose of the program? You know, it's doing a lot of things, a lot of different things, okay, it seems. I don't know if it's doing anything super great on its own, but, it seems like a useful program, but I don't really, like, evaluating the options. I couldn't come up with a good answer for myself without continuously coming back to the question of why are we doing this? So I don't know if you can address that.
Yeah, I mean, having the knowledge of why the program started, it really was designed to provide coverage in a low density area where the fixed route bus service was just not productive. So it was designed as more than a first and last mile. I mean, and we iterated, David may remember this from years ago, but we went round and round thinking about, you know, how this program should take shape, and learned from our partners who were the trailblazers with these types of services, that the harder you make it, both in, you know, geofencing and time restrictions, the less utilization you'll see. So at that time, we said, let's be bold, let's be flexible, let's allow anyone to use it for any trip purpose. And then right before I was leaving, we started an evaluation around 2018 to better understand how were people using it. Were they using it in lieu of taking a bus when they had the rapid service right there? I actually don't know if we ever were able to get that survey data. It was really difficult working with the program partners at that time. Now, things have changed a lot since then. They are a lot more open with their data, which is great. The program was expanded in 2020 to cover the whole Tri-Valley. I think that was twofold. One, to allow for some social distancing, perhaps, also to cover, to allow for more coverage when we had reduced service during the pandemic. At this point, I think the program is very popular. We have a lot of folks who use it. Members of our ADA community use it. I think it's still a coverage tool for us to, provide service in places that we just can't run a bus. And I think the heat map, if you look at it, it really does show that people are using it throughout the Tri-Valley in areas where the bus service doesn't run.
And did you get any of the data on, why people are using this?
I will look at back in the staff reports. It happened right as I was leaving. I mean, I can ask Tamara if she recalls anything.
I recall, as I recall, it was Jonathan at the time, they were not able to get data at all from anybody. The Uber and Lyft were just not willing to operate. The fact that Martha has been able to get information now is just amazing.
And
These are so difficult.
It's just raw trip data, but if we wanted like purpose of trip,
Yeah.
it'd have to be some kind of survey, an in-app survey or something, so.
And then my other question is, if we did go with say 3A, if there is a user, who has some mobility issues or access issues, who might be using this every single day for work or, something, can we include some sort of process where a person could apply to lift the cap? Say, I really need this to get to and from work every single day. I live in South Livermore, I can't get to a bus, I want to.
We have 18 now.
Well, and
For some.
if they qualify, they can take the TNC, get reimbursed under the Taylor taxi program, 85% of their trip up to $20. So it's actually.
Yeah, we do have
better than this for them.
It's an interesting concept. I think it would possibly put us in a position of conflict where we are looking at our fixed route network and assessing whether somebody should be able to take a bus. If they can't take a bus, it's different if they have a mobility issue, they can't physically take a bus, that's what paratransit for, versus if a bus is not available.
I'm thinking more for people who might not necessarily have a mobility issue and qualify for paratransit, but might be in a situation where this is their way of getting to a bus. We're not, with $5, doesn't get you very far, but maybe it gets you from, the county to a bus route or something. So I don't know if it'll actually be relevant or not, but I think there might be, up to 10 users who are gonna fall into that category. It should be a small number, but I think it should be something I would advise looking into.
I guess my questions are sort of piggybacking. Initially, the purpose was to serve areas that are not being served by a bus route, not necessarily first mile, last mile. That wasn't the reason we had the service in the first place. And then we expanded it for the same reason, because we had cut back on service. And now that we are increasing service, I wonder if this is having Go Tri-Valley in the first place is still something that we want to be promoting as a supplemental, like, what's our why, and are we intending to taper this down over the years as we're bringing our service back up? If people are taking it because the bus just doesn't go when they want it to go, then that's different than they're taking it because the bus doesn't go where they want it to go, right? So as our service is increasing, I'm hoping that we will see fewer people taking it, except that it's convenient and cheap. So, instead of me waiting for 40 minutes, if I've got the money, I'm happy to pay the $5 if I can go now, right? So I would like to see us doing some outreach. Do we know who those super users are, or just that there are super users?
We don't know who they are.
We just have a unique ID number and we only have that, I think, for one platform.
Okay, so.
You can see like one user is taking this many trips, but.
And we don't have any way to reach out to those users through the third party providers.
We can request that they support us in a survey. I started to have that conversation.
I wasn't even asking for a survey. I was asking for, if we could do some marketing to those specific people to say, how can we serve you better? Do you know how to take the bus? Do you know, is there a route that we could get them to? If we can see the specific heat map just for those super users, if we can figure out where they're going, maybe we can serve them better on the fixed route. And so we could eventually taper down to, we can even lower the cap, right?
Right.
Because this isn't our bread and butter, this isn't what we do. So I'd like to see us using it for what it was intended to do, which is only covering where the fixed route and paratransit service isn't going, as opposed to paying for people who are out partying. And, you know, that's not a bad thing, right? We don't want those people driving, but that's not the intent. And if there are people that are going to work every day, great, but if we can get them to work on the bus, then that's better for us in the long run, right? So if there's some way we can reach out to those super users to find out more about why they're using the service every day, and if they were gonna do it anyway, and now we're just subsidizing it, okay. But if there's a way we can get them on the fixed route service, that's better.
Do we have access to that data, the trip origin, trip pairs by user? In either platform?
For Lyft, it's anonymized. For Uber,
Okay, we'll dig and see if we can, you just look at the data when the trips are occurring and where.
Yeah, because even with the anonymized data, I would think if we would see a pattern, like, there's a daily trip going, you know, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth,
Yeah.
we're gonna know that that's a super user that's just doing that particular route, and if there's a bus that goes that way.
Yeah, I just don't know how Uber and Lyft feel about privacy and.
Right,
that sort of
sure,
thing.
understand.
So,
We can ask them,
We can
yeah.
definitely look into it.
Yeah, if it's possible.
If I can respond, I agree with you that I would love to see the tapering down of this, and the eventual elimination of this program. It makes us unique, it's a nice offering, it is something our riders like. I remain curious about microtransit, if that's a better solution.
Yeah,
I am also, we're gearing up to launch our new network. We will be closely monitoring those services, but, you know, we are taking a risk restoring to service that we just eliminated a few years ago. And we may come up with a different alternative, like a microtransit, just depending on how the new routes, operate.
right. So I'm hoping that by putting the cap on at the same time that we're restoring service, it might make it just inconvenient enough, if they're counting trips, that it gets them on the bus. Yeah. We'll see.
I mean, I agree, it's transit money leaving transit effectively,
Right,
because.
it's a voucher program for transit.
Well, I will say, when we started the program, the average cost of the fixed route trips per passenger was like $25. And so when you look at the Go Dublin data, it was like $3 or $2.50. So really, it was like, wow, you know, this,
Yeah.
but it's complicated.
Thank you.
Get it?
So I hear Josie wants to make a motion.
Well, did you have any questions?
I hear Jean wants to make a motion. Yeah, so, well, I love all the comments that were made, the same kinds of questions. Let me, and so I totally get, the origins of wanting to do this, mirroring a fixed route that we cut. I want to commend the staff. Christy, what you said in the beginning was very, accurate, that our team has done a really good job digging into this. I wonder if we could throw this back on Uber's lap and say, we have this great program, we have all of this great data. What do you guys think about it? And maybe get their perspective. Just, they're smart people, and maybe we should ask them their perspective. I would be interested to know. But other than that, this was a great learning experience, a great experiment. I think there's actually, and I get your point, Gene, about not wanting to just take party people home, but people that were out partying. I'm actually not opposed to thinking of things along those lines separately. And it may not be a LAVTA program, it may be a city program or a chamber of commerce program or a restaurant and whatever program. But that's really interesting. We've really got a lot of good learning here. But that said, we can't let this run amok and all of that. I'm in favor of tamping it down. And so will people know when they've used their 8th ride that they only have 2 left? Or, I guess that's something we still have to go explore with Uber and Lyft, how we would actually implement a cap.
Yeah, I don't have the answer to that, but we'll.
Or do we know?
I've used the service and, I think that it would show in
Okay.
your,
Okay,
that you've used one, because I think it shows now you use one of unlimited or something like that.
Okay.
You still have your vouchers still valid. I think it will show them how many rides they've used a month and how many are valid a month. I think that once they throw that switch, I think that data is very easy to see in your app.
Very good. Yeah, okay, well then,
So sure, I'm happy to make
no
that
other
motion.
questions.
I'm
Yep.
happy to make that.
Brandon,
motion
you
if
want a
you'd like,
second?
Yeah, I have one, I'll second, but I have one comment.
Chair. Okay,
So, second, and then before we vote, comment, can
Go.
we bring this back in a year? To see what happens with, the new routes, maybe we can taper this down.
I'd actually prefer to see it even shorter than a year, maybe even 6 months, to see if we are making a difference and if the heat map changes based on the cap. If some of those super users are, if they've changed the behavior, knowing that they can't do it daily.
We could even include a monthly metric or something to track Go Tri-Valley ridership. I think.
we have that
already
on the
do
board
that,
before,
right?
but yeah, absolutely, I think this is all very reasonable, 6 months seems totally appropriate, and it's a great opportunity to advertise our new network to these users.
Right.
Which I know our partners will help us to do.
Right. I also think that there was one really important learning point about all this, and that was the method that we used to advertise this. It's, very effective, and so when we want to advertise other things,
TikTok.
yeah,
It worked.
yeah.
I wouldn't call it a fairly successful advertising campaign.
It might not be successful for another, it might have been just that this was the right type of thing to advertise that way, but, certainly worth trying to replicate for other things.
Yes.
Great points. Yep. Let's, call for the roll call vote.
Yes, Vice Chair Brown is still absent, Director Branning,
Aye.
Director Josie,
Aye.
and Chair Hubbard. Chair Hubbard, your volume is not
Aye.
working.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
I'll say aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, then we've come to item 6, which is a preview of upcoming PNS committee agenda items.
Thank you, Chair. In your packet, on the last page, you have the next 5 months for your committee agenda items. I'm already noting things to shuffle, as things constantly change here, but we are bringing you your long-range transit plan in February. It's very important that we get that approved as we head into grant season. And we are bringing a preliminary marketing plan for Wheels in Motion. So it's less than 2 months away. It will be live March 23rd is our launch date. And so we have work to do, lots of work. And so we're starting to think about that, reaching out to our partners throughout the Tri-Valley. And then in March, we may bring the express service MOU with County Connection. This is for the 680 service in the 680 corridor. And there may be some fare policy changes for you to consider related to free and reduced transfers. This is a regional initiative, and we will bring you your paratransit customer satisfaction survey results. And then in April, we'll be talking about annual service planning. We had a great meeting with the principal. We have a draft survey that we will be sending out. And I'm sure that other things will be added as the months click on. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions? If not, we'll say item 7, any matters initiated?
Here.
Seeing none, item 8 was adjournment and announcement that February 26th, will be our next meeting date. Then item 9 is we will adjourn. Thank you all.
Thanks, Dave.
Happy Friday. Happy Friday.
February 26th.
No, it's back to Monday. It's back to Monday.
Back to Mondays. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Have a good weekend. And we'll look into the labor. It's an interesting idea. I'm not